So hello.
Hi.
And welcome everyone. I'm Emily Wishaw with Wishaw Wellness, Live in Alignment, and we're here doing my monthly interview series for the month of March 2018 here with the beautiful and wonderful Heather Terry. Heather is a Chinese medicine practitioner. Really, I'm struggling to introduce her because I'm like, there's so many hashtags. She's a business owner. She's a mom. How would you introduce yourself? What would you?
I always say Chinese medicine practitioner just because that's acupuncture and herbs.
Mm-hmm.
I also own Move and Be Well by Move. And
What is Move?
Move is, we call it a cube. CrossFit gyms are typically called boxes, but we call them cubes. Move is a cube because we have CrossFit, but we have metabolic training, and then we have the whole Be Well side as well. So everybody has access to PT and chiro and rolfing and acupuncture and Chinese herbs, and being a yoga instructor as well. In my past time, they have the yoga influence as well. So
Awesome.
it's a cube.
It is a cube. That's a lot of cool. Okay.
Stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to touch on all of what that is because it's curious. And one thing that we'll talk about a little later that Heather's working to create is an integrative wellness center where there's, a team of supportive holistic practitioners where somebody can go and, you're being communicated amongst all of them so you don't feel like you're tossed around, which I believe is so needed. And I think a lot of us are desiring that. So I'm excited for that. And I get to be a rolfer as a part of that, which is cool.
We're so grateful.
So I'm curious, how did you get into Chinese medicine? Because that's a foreign topic, I think, for a lot of people. It's like, well, China,
Yeah.
what is this world? Yeah.
It is an interesting world. So I was in a car accident. I had a semi run me off of I-25 in 2004. I had a slow disc degeneration, which resulted in a surgical replacement of my disc, L4-5. And there was a lot of muscle guarding around it. And acupuncture seemed to be the only thing that really was able to treat it effectively.
Wow.
So just with conversations with the practitioner that I was lucky enough to work with, I decided I don't want to do corporate anymore. I think I want to pursue this. So that's what I did.
So that's it.
That's the long and short.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And that's what gave you the relief and from the back pain.
Yeah.
Was going to acupuncture.
And quickly.
Wow.
It really worked. I mean, yeah, it worked well.
And that's what I think I appreciate about acupuncture. My experience is with a lot of different things, but is that it can be a really, it can be more intense, but it can also be really gentle, which I think we think of like the needles and like, oh, that's so invasive and I'm scared of needles. My experience has been it's actually a really gentle way to support my body and its healing and to re-find balance.
Yeah. Well, and I think Chinese medicine is really good at not isolating. So you could look at it and you could say the multifidi is very upset and I need to put a needle in it.
What's
and
the
release.
multifidi?
Oh, just muscles that run along the spine. Or you can look at it and say, why? Why is this happening? And I think you could probably relate to this a little bit with the rolfing piece. Like what's happening in the system as a whole? So yes, of course we need to release the muscle, but we also need to support the body in getting to a place where that doesn't come back. And that's the medicinal side of things. That's where the slamma-jamma is, I think.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Slamma-jamma. Yeah, it is a way to really look at all aspects.
Soul.
Yeah. Cool. So that helped with the low back pain, and then you were in corporate world, left that.
I was in corporate finance for the better part of 12 years. Was overseas, had a moment where I looked across at my team and said, I can't do this any longer. So then I didn't. Went back to school, came back to the U.S. And decided to go back to school after delivering Jensen, my daughter.
Okay.
And did that for 4 years and then started practicing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So you pretty much like made the decision. You're like, okay, I'm ready, and went for it. Just trusted.
Yeah. It was time.
I was appreciating that because I was in a conversation, an event that I run that the speaker today is a friend of mine, and she was speaking on clarity and flow, and how do you trust. And so I've just been appreciating, like, it seems like you had that clarity, and you just went for it and trusted. And there's a lot of conversations around that, just trusting and being in the flow. But it's like, yeah, but I gotta pay bills, I got a life to live, and like that's all said and done, and like, how does one actually do that? And also, I will say, just because you living in the flow doesn't necessarily mean things are easier.
Oh,
I think
man.
it actually puts you in a really uncomfortable place.
I agree.
What were there any things that you did that helped support you in that transition of leaving the corporate and just jumping? I mean,
I was really, really lucky to have the background that I did in business, to be able to plan out milestones, to be able to create the business plan, to be able to assess how much capital we needed, and where and at what points we were going to need additional infusions and things like that, so that I could kind of have peace of mind.
Okay.
That does not mean that I didn't freak out, because I did all the time. It's hard starting from the ground up. But I always felt when I was in finance, like when I was most successful was when I was connecting with the humans and not crunching the numbers. And I really felt like I had to turn that piece of me off to be successful in that world. And this is just my experience. But that was my driving force, I would say, to keep moving forward. Like, this is about people. This is about the world. This is about allowing what's in here to manifest out there, even if it means failing, maybe. And it looked like we were going to a few times. So,
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think that you were so clear, it seems like, on your intention of you wanted to help and heal others in whatever way. And for you, that's Chinese medicine from your own experience and background. And and I think that anytime we have more conviction, the more conviction we can have, which ultimately comes from being really clear on who we are and what our values are, then those leaps, those jumps, or even just the walking over the curb is a little, it's easier. It's still uncomfortable, but I think we can trust a little more. Or just know, even if I fail, it doesn't matter, I have to do this.
Yeah. At least to say that I tried. You know?
Right.
The world deserves it.
Yeah, the world needs you.
The world needs each of us, like our authentic. Anyway.
So, I know that you've struggled with autoimmune disease. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that and like kind of when that occurred, the process?
Yeah, it was really interesting how it happened. So I was in the car accident. They kind of say autoimmune diseases kind of are triggered by something. And I do believe the car accident was a big piece of it. But I also believe, I don't know why I was crazy enough to open a business in my second year of school where I was taking 22 credit hours and trying to be a mom at the same time.
Wow.
That wasn't very smart. But I did it nonetheless. I think the stress of that was another like trigger. So it was interesting. I went to a blood chemistry course, and as part of the course, you just pull your lab.
And
you
this
go
is an acupuncture school.
Yes. You go and you get your blood labs, and then you come in with your results, and then we get to discuss, just so there's a place for the information to land, like what this means and what optimal ranges are, yada yada yada. And red, and I'm like, I'm dying. And what was really interesting is I went to lots and lots of different practitioners, and because autoimmune diseases are so scattered in the way they're categorized in Western medicine, it was very hard to find a practitioner that could A, hold my fear, and B, really was equipped enough to say, this is what we're working with and this is how we can get out of it. And
were you feeling not good? Were you aware of that before you got the blood work, or was it more you were just trying to survive and get by, so you just pushed it down?
I was tired. So it's pernicious anemia. Fatigue is a huge piece of it, but I was a mom and I was opening a business and I was going to school, so I assumed it was just kind of
all of that.
Okay. In hindsight, my belly was telling me I definitely had gut inflammation. There's no question about that. But in the moment, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. So you found the practitioner.
So I found the practitioner, said, what do I do? And was put on a dietary protocol where I could eat very little. not little in quantity, but lots of quality but very specific foods that I needed to omit, along with some supplements. And then Chinese herbs were essential, helped so much. And then the acupuncture, especially the auricular, the needles in the ears, really helped to dial down the stress, which is a precursor to inflammation, which is a big piece of autoimmune.
So you had an awesome combination approach of really looking at the diet, getting the acupuncture and the herbs. But it seemed like you were really clear, though, what was happening underneath the surface to help create that plan. Yeah. And then, you know, was it a long process? Was it challenging? Like with that fatigue that you felt, you know, because obviously the stressors were still happening in your life. Did that alleviate? Did it take time? Was it like what was
Well,
that
I
process like?
am a bit like this in life. So I did it. I made it happen. I did the diet. I was very clean. I was very specific. I felt great. And that was enough to get me enough feedback to realize I was on the right track. That said, lots of this afterwards. When you're in school, you just want to caffeinate, and that really doesn't help.
I'm on that train right now.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Next week, I'm like, okay, no more coffee, switch to matcha tea,
Right.
then we'll get off of that.
Wean, baby, wean. So yeah, honestly, lots of, I just want my coffee, or, you know. But at least I had gotten to the place where after doing everything, getting the labs, recognizing that the antibodies were no longer present. Yes, this was successful. I was equipped, I felt at that point, to say, okay, I can manage this and then go from there. But I'm still all over the place.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
Which is part of life.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, an amazing thing of also like having the ability to get tested and seeing what's happening internally. And I just sent in, I'm not doing blood work. I did blood work recently just with my primary doctor, so not in depth, but actually I'm doing a hair analysis test.
Oh.
So I'm curious
Trace
about
minerals,
that.
baby.
Yep,
That'll
trace
be
minerals.
Tell me how it
It's
goes.
interesting. Like, what's happening under here?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I wanted to have Heather share a little bit of our autoimmune, just because I think all of us can relate to some degree, having that much stress in our life and feeling that fatigue, whether or not it's caused by autoimmune. But when, you know, I'm guilty of this, but how often do we choose just to push through that and ignore that and suppress that and push it down by either consuming more caffeine or going to sugar, whatever it may be, as opposed to really looking at underlying, like, what is our body wanting and telling us and healing us? And I, for one, often tend to operate, well, I don't have time right now for X, Y, and Z, when in reality, when I give my body the space, when I give myself the space, I actually end up with more time. Every time, because otherwise I'm not as productive. I'm backtracking, whatever it is.
Well, and caffeine is just like this frenetic energy, right? Just, are you really productive?
Yeah.
When you're
sometimes. No, sure.
Yeah.
Right. And we're already at a heightened nervous system level in today's world.
So is it good quality work?
Yeah.
You know, you're getting through technically. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
What would you suggest to somebody, like, if they're noticing, like, if they're watching this and like, like, I'm on that train, and Emily and Heather, it sounds great to like take space for me, but like I'm running a business or I'm a high level executive, like there's no literally no, like, I'm just curious, like, what would you say to somebody who's in that situation?
Just listen. Just start with listening. That? Like, take 5 minutes at the end of the day and feel your body. Your body says so much. We just choose not to listen because it's not convenient or we don't have the time, and
I think we're not taught.
I agree.
So I'm curious, I'd love to have you speak more on how do we feel our body, because I think that, you know, I can sometimes say to people, drop into your body or do this. And I did an all-day workshop yesterday for a salon, and I had great learning lessons myself. And because I wanted them early on, I was like, let's just drop in, because normally the women I work with have done a fair amount of meditation, all their practice, and I asked for too much too quickly, and they were like, how do we drop in? How do we feel our body? So how do you feel your body when you do that 5-minute check-in?
So I actually do it 2 times. I do it in the evening, and that's usually my belly and like me sensing my body. So I just lay and I breathe, and it typically starts with, are there any muscles that are tight? Am I holding tension somewhere? Like in Shavasana and yoga, right? And then how is my belly? Like I get a sensation of burning in my belly if I am not eating the way I should, or if my autoimmune piece is really like unhappy. And then in the morning, I'm lucky enough, it sounds so weird, I'm lucky enough to have dark circles under my eyes when I eat foods that my body doesn't like.
It's always in my eyes, that's how I tell.
And listening is just, like you can slap creams on all day long, but what's your body telling you? Like, what did I eat yesterday? You know? Yeah.
I get that too. That's so funny.
The morning. Yeah.
I appreciate what you shared, how you start the feeling your body of just a simple laying down and just noticing your breath and checking, are there any muscles that are tight?
Yeah.
Where is sensation? Where,
Yeah.
Because that's simple. And I think we can all, that's a really tangible thing that I think most of us could handle. Like, oh yeah, let me just start there.
Yeah.
What would that be like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And breath. I mean, even just like I'm breathing shallowly or quickly, or just the fact that you're using the breath to connect with your body, it's really checking in a couple of different ways. Like, am I fluid? Am I stressed out and holding, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's just me.
I appreciate that. Even as you were saying that, I'm like, oh, can I feel my breath in my belly?
I know. I'm
Let's
like, oh,
check
look
in.
at me. I'm not breathing in my belly.
Awesome. So what if someone, I sometimes come across people who have never experienced acupuncture. I'm like one of the biggest acupuncture fans out there. I love it.
Yeah.
Myself, why have I used it? For a variety of reasons. What I've noticed the past couple seasons going into spring, hasn't happened yet this year as much, but that's why I'm getting off caffeine. But the last 2 years before, when we'd hit spring, I would have this internal agitation that I just like couldn't shake, like this anxiety, this restlessness that like if I didn't get really intense cardio, like and each time just had one acupuncture session gone. So I think it's an amazing modality for anyone with anxiety. I've had, muscle release, and the thing is there's so many endless potentials. I've been playing with it lately with some digestive stuff that's shown up. Anyway, just to share a little of my experience. But so sometimes in sharing my experience, I come across people who are afraid of needles, or it's too woo-woo still out there, or So what are share some acupuncture wisdom? Right?
Yeah. So I tend to come. So the Chinese are very practical people, very pragmatic people, and they have a lineage of over 3,000 years of recording what worked and what didn't. Like they killed people. They didn't mean to, but they killed people, and they wrote it down, and they're like, oh, by the way, this herb is toxic. It killed this guy. And we get we're lucky enough to learn from that and their record keeping. And I think we're learning a lot more about what the needles do now that we have functional MRIs that lights up certain parts of the brain.
It's so cool.
It's really cool. But at the end of the day, it's really good about creating balance in the body. So whether it's digestion, your digestion is loose, or it's hard, it's bringing it back to balance. Sleep, you're either agitated, anxious, you're depressed, re-regulating. It's this finding balance.
Recalibration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whether you say that in terms of yin and yang, or whether you say that in terms of the HPA axis and the signaling that's occurring between the hypothalamus and the adrenals, it's the same. It's the same. Just different languaging. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I think we can all, we need recalibrating.
Oh man, 21st century is legit.
So what if somebody's afraid of needles though?
So I don't even like calling them needles because they're so little.
What do you call them?
I call them filaments.
Oh wow.
And the reason why, needles have holes in them. They're intended to inject a material into the body, right? Our needles are solid, and you can get about 25 of those suckers in the space that's created in a hypodermic needle.
Oh, that's
25
useful knowledge to know.
A lot.
Yeah. And even the
really
languaging of filament makes it seem not as scary.
Yeah. Most people can't feel them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, try it.
Yeah. Come see Heather if you're local. Seriously, she's amazing. So I want to wrap up. Let's move into a little bit about what is Be Well by Move and what you're creating there, and what was your inspiration for this?
Yeah, so I think that piece came from my experiences with autoimmune, like going here and having this doctor not like understand maybe a piece of it, but not all of it, and then having to reiterate my interpretation of what this practitioner said to another practitioner. And feeling held is really important, especially when you're going through health stuff. Like, I want to know when I walk in that my practitioners know what to do. All I do is show up, you know, and so what we're trying to cultivate together is multidisciplinary, a group of practitioners that work together, that use the same means of communication, the same database. We communicate behind the scenes so that someone can just show up. I'm autoimmune. Oh, Beth is already working on the diet here, or Brandon is working on the diet here. Emily's helping with the holding that's occurring in the body. You know, chiropractic, PT, acu, whatever it is that we feel is needed for that person is communicated in the database so that they can feel held and know that people are talking and they don't have the added stress of
driving all over town.
Oh my goodness.
Getting permission, can people communicate? So it's kind of like a one-stop shop in a way, but for integrative, holistic.
Well, and I think there's a lot of, unless you have a medical degree or have been in some kind of holistic medicine, people don't know, and they shouldn't be expected to be able to fully understand what their practitioner is saying about their condition.
Yeah.
And so to expect them to understand that and then be able to tell another practitioner correctly, it's like telephone kind of. So just let the practitioners talk together. You know, they use the same languaging, they understand, and then the patient doesn't, I think this is what they said, I'm not real sure, do you want me to have them, you know?
Right.
So that's
right, because that just can alleviate another level of stress or like a thing to do, and especially if you're wanting to heal, working through something that's really essential.
Yeah, and autoimmune especially, like stress, cortisol, all that affects the belly. It affects everything, and that's the root of most of these conditions. So taking that piece out in and of itself is a big thing.
Yeah, it's exciting. So it's Be Well Move is in
Be Well by
Louisville,
Move,
Colorado.
Yeah.
So if you're local or passing through Boulder, you can
come say hi.
Yeah. So to wrap up, what would you, if somebody has watched this and desires to have some sort of like a takeaway, like what can they do to start? You gave the example of the 5-minute, which I think is a beautiful example. Do you have another tool or suggestion if you know somebody who's wanting to cultivate more space, or maybe potentially has an autoimmune or fatigue?
I would say move every day. No matter how tired you are, you have to move. And that is from a physical sense, that's from a Chinese medicine sense. We have to move. We're made to move. And drink your water. Drink lots and lots of water.
Moving can be as simple as walking.
It can.
I think we all take walking for granted, but it's one thing I always want my clients to do. It's one of the best things we can do for our body.
Yeah, just move. In the natural world, like if you can get outside, it's even better. The vitamin D, you know, the sounds of spring, the sounds of, you know, whatever it is that's around you. Unless you're in the middle of New York City, in which case, God bless you. I've experienced that too.
Some virtual reality.
I know, right? But it's good to be out there and experience everything else that we're connected to. So move and water.
Move and water. Those are really good reminders.
That's what I would say.
And simple and free. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How can if we want to stay connected with you, where can we learn more about you and your work? Yeah,
so you can go to movevital.com.
Can you spell that?
Yes.
I'll put a link at the bottom, but
okay.
Do spell move in the video because it's different spelling.
It is. It's MOOV. So the website is MOOV Vital, VITAL.com. And then there's a link on there for the Be Well team where you can meet Emily and all of the rest of us that are working together. And then, I have another product on the side, which is getdirty.co.
Getdirty.co. a really good one.
I know.
And what is that?
It's Muscle Mud is the flagship product, but it's Chinese medicine infused into a salve to help with muscle soreness and things like that.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Awesome. I've used Muscle One once. And it was
it's like icy hot on steroids
pretty awesome. Yeah.
because it's got herbs.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll put the links below.
Okay.
So if you want to learn more about Heather, learn more about Be Well and the integrative center she's creating, or want to try out Muscle Mud, you can find that out. So thanks for watching, and take care. And thank you, Heather.
Thank
Still
you.
appreciate your time
Thank
and being
you.
here. Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.